Just a second here. Ready? I'm gonna say get it. Go.
Okay, hold on a second. Let's record. Screen share.
Recording now.
And we're going to go full screen.
Here we go.
Go for it.
Okay. Welcome to the Masters of Basketball, alongside with Chris Ramirez and Lav Woods, bringing you another episode. How's it going today, Lav?
Going great today. So much going on with NCAA basketball, NBA basketball, Masters basketball. I'm excited.
Me too. I'm excited. We got March Madness continuing, the Sweet 16, St. Peter's. We're gonna talk about them in a minute. Masters basketball, and we're gonna talk about the top 5 players for the New York City class of 1985 and 1986. But we want to get started off about the Peacocks of St. Peter's College from Jersey City, New Jersey.
That's right.
Yes, they're the Cinderella story here, and pull upsets on number 2 seed Kentucky and number 10 Murray State. Who would have thought? St. Peter's, a small Jesuit school in Jersey City, a gym that has 3,000 people, a low budget program, no McDonald's All-Americans,
right.
Not even a 4 or 5 star player. These guys play with heart.
They're getting it done. It's really amazing to watch how disciplined this team is, how focused they are. They don't really have any significantly tall or big players, and they're executing well down the stretch. And they made a believer out of me. I've been rooting for them all along, but they made a believer out of me. Let's see how far can they go.
Yes, we're gonna see how far they go. And their head coach, Shaheen Holloway from South Jamaica, Queens.
That's right.
Yes, played at St. Patrick's High School in Elizabeth, New Jersey. Also, he played at Seton Hall. He was a point guard for part of their Sweet 16 Seton Hall squad back in 2000. Right. The last time a New Jersey team made it to the Sweet 16s.
That's true.
22 years later, now, he's coaching his whole team, St. Peter's.
Well, of course, you got to mention Mr. Lee, who's holding it down in the backcourt as a freshman. He's playing excellent, facilitating, excellent floor general. Of course, acknowledging his dad, Butch Lee, and there's just so much history and so much excitement in the tri-state area. As a matter of fact, the whole nation is big fans and rooting for St. Peter's at the moment.
Me too. We got to root for them. It's going to be tough, but they play with heart. And the guy on the left, you see number 25, the man with the famous mustache. Yes.
Right.
That guy, his name is Doug Erdahl. He's the man with the famous mustache, like I say. He scored 20 points against Kentucky and 13 points against Murray State to help that team advance to the Sweet 16. And this week, he got an NIL deal with Buffalo Wild Wings.
Well, it's a start. I mean, fortunately, finally, the players can begin to be compensated for their likeness and for their energy, because the players really substantiate the entire system. Without the players, the NCAA really has nothing. So they should be compensated more than anything that Buffalo Wild Wings could give them. But we'll talk about that at a later time.
At another time, definitely. And just to tell you, last night was watching this segment with Shaheen Holloway. He was giving love out to Aim High, who he played for, Kevin Jackson, Pierre Turner, Vincent Smith, who was Kenny Smith's brother. And that was his childhood mentor. Aim High gets some props. And this is a team, like you said, 1.53 bracket, 1.5% chance to be picked up to the Sweet 16.
Hey, basketball is basketball. And the fact that they were able to execute and really make such an impact on this particular year, it's historic. At the
Yes.
minimal, it's historic already. They're already winners.
Yes, they play tonight at 7 p.m. against Purdue, against Jaden Ivey, top player in the Big Ten Player of the Year candidate. He's this team, number 3 seed, more experience. But if St. Peter's got that heart, we gonna wait and see how this goes tonight. I'm really excited about this game. I'm tuning in.
I'm definitely tuning in myself. Now, listen, we got a little business to take care of here in regards to some of your bracket predictions prior to this week. What's going on, Chris? You're usually performing at a much higher rate. What's the story?
Hey, you look at these teams. Like I picked Gonzaga, who was the number 1 overall seed, got knocked out last night to a very well physical Arkansas team that played really scrappy, and they just clicked. They just held that. They just held it down against Gonzaga. You got to give it to Eric Musselman, well coached, great game plan. Give him his flowers. And another team, my bracket busted with Arizona, team that really was rolling. They were rolling. They were like the 2nd number overall seed, and they were rolling. And last night, Houston's physicality and their smothering defense just beat them down. And give props to Kelvin Sampson and the Houston Cougars, who are going to the Elite 8.
Now, do you think it has something to do with teams peaking perhaps closer to the end of their season as opposed to peaking during the actual tournament? I mean, do you think that factors in, or maybe fatigue has something to do with it?
Well, it's all of the above. Teams peaking in at the right time, putting their team together at the right time. Fatigue does play a factor too. When you play against teams who are more physical, like you saw, like with Gonzaga, and then Arizona, that physical and that smothering defense, they was just pounding them. It was just, these guys were getting pounded, and they just wasn't able to handle it. It wasn't able, and when they tried to make a run, or you think they're going to do something, these teams stepped up and stopped them when it needed to stop.
Gotcha.
And then we look at Baylor, team with a lot of injuries. Last year's defending NCAA champions went down, lost to North Carolina. They were down 25 late in the middle of the second half, made a great comeback, and forced it into overtime. And North Carolina just able to hold on. Hubert Davis and the Tar Heels advanced to the Sweet 16, play UCLA tonight. That's going to be another good matchup. That winner of that game will play the winner of Purdue and St. Peter's in each region on Saturday. Then we talk about we talk about Kansas. Kansas is really good. Bill Self and Jayhawks are still there, but they got a tough one tonight against Providence. Providence, Big East regular season champions.
You going to watch that game too? You going to try to tune in on that one?
Oh, definitely. I'm going to be trying to tune into all the games. The 4 good games tonight. And we talk about the Auburn Tigers. Another disappointment. They lost. Yes. You could just see they struggled. That's another team who didn't really put it together. They struggle at the wrong time. Just lost 5 out of the last 10 games. They were number 1 throughout most of the season, and then late in the season, they just struggled, and they lost to a good Miami team. Their head coach, Jim Larrañaga, a Malloy High School graduate. Yep. And you know Jim Larrañaga is the one who coached George Mason to the Final Four back in 2006.
I see, man.
Yes.
How do you remember this stuff?
Hey, I'm just a huge fan of the game.
I know you
I love this game.
And we all know about what happened at Kentucky.
Yes,
did
obviously.
You see it coming? I didn't see it coming.
I didn't see it coming too, but Kentucky, St. Peter's, the heart, and Kentucky, they just didn't. They played well. They went into overtime. St. Peter's just made the big plays.
Let me tell you something. Late in the game, it seemed that when St. Peter's went to that zone, I was kind of surprised because I believe they were down a couple buckets, and I thought going to a zone might be a little too passive, especially in regards to clock management. But it seemed like Kentucky didn't have a strategic counter for that. What are your
Right.
thoughts on that? And I thought Calipari had something else up his sleeve towards the end of the game.
Yes, I think they just didn't make the shots. Their big man, Tabish, Oscar Tabish, just never they never fed him the ball enough. Never they St. Peter's stopped them in some big plays. And right now, this Kentucky team is not your typical one and done team. They had some veterans, but they weren't really a championship mind. It wasn't a championship material team. It
You don't
was a
think
lot
so?
of guys that transferred in the transfer portable, and they just came together as one. And you could just tell them not playing together, and that experience wasn't there.
Oh, I hear you. Well, listen, they always stack it up. They're always in it,
Yes,
just like Duke and North Carolina. I mean, it's usually the same characters that are in the final 16, but it's great to see some new energy. It's great to see some new
it is. This
talent in other colleges. And I think it makes it a lot more exciting and unpredictable.
Yes, this is what's so special about the tournament. It's a one and done game. If you don't have your A game on that night, you're out of the playoffs. It's not the NBA playoffs where you have 7 game series. If you have a bad night, you still have a few chances to win.
Right.
This is where everybody has to come with it. You got to bring it every night, every game.
Yeah, these games are very exciting. And also, I understand with each win that the colleges put on the scoreboard, it is extremely lucrative for each of the colleges in regards to television money. I understand that there's been an uptick in enrollment or increase for enrollment for the teams that are winning, and there are other revenue producing opportunities. And I believe Coach K, one of my favorite coaches, made mention that St. Peter's win should benefit the university somewhere in the area of, I believe it was $100 million. What do you think about that?
I think they deserve the revenue. Well, I would like to see the players get a share in that. Unfortunately, they don't have that um, opportunity, but it's great the schools getting recognition. But we have to understand, we going to have conversation on that another day. These players should get some compensation for the hard work, dedication, and the time they spent often on the court for going from September to about March. And they need to really take some more consideration
That's
into
right. Pay the players. That's what I'm talking about.
it. That's what I say. All right.
So,
Talking about your Masters basketball. Tell us about it.
well, Masters basketball throughout the nation is alive and well. We've got so many major Masters events that are coming up, so many minor Masters events, but we're just going to give you a quick overview of what's going on right now in the tri-state area. Actually, the Brownsville Recreation Center, McMillan League, they're in the second half of their league play for 60 and over, age 60 and over athletes are playing out at the Brownsville Rec Center. And also, they just completed their 50 and over league for the winter. So looking forward to those teams returning to competition. Now, actually out in New Jersey, we have the 2022 Masters Basketball North Jersey Holiday Classic. The Easter tournament's taking place out in Wayne, New Jersey this weekend. The 4 teams that are participating are all age 60 and over, very competitive field. Of course, we've got the New York Senior Citizens League All-Stars, who are the defending Holiday Classic champions. They won the Holiday Classic that took place during Christmas season, and very strong team. They've got a few new players, and they should represent very well. They will be playing against the North Jersey Senior Citizen League All-Stars, many players throughout New Jersey, the various cities out of New Jersey, age 60 and over. So that game will be on Sunday. So we've got also team number 2, ranked number 2 coming in, Simba Capital. They've stepped on to the Masters scene a number of years ago, and now they're on the international scene with a silver medal down in Tampa Masters, and they will also be headed to Coral Springs Masters during the month of May. They'll be in Coral Springs for the Masters Basketball Association competition. And also my old man crew, team number 3, we're ranked number 3. Frontcourtmasters.com will be playing against Simba Capital in the opening game. And the following game, second game, will be the New York Senior Citizens League All-Stars versus the North Jersey Senior Citizen League All-Stars. So all the Masters action is coming up. Here's the calendar for the year. January's Tampa, February's Lailaca in Ecuador. Also the Brownsville Rec. March, we've got the FIMBA Pan American Games. Shout out to Ecuador and Puerto Rico for doing so well at the FIMBA 2022 Pan American Games that are taking place in Parana, Argentina. As we understand, Puerto Rico did rather well in the age 60 and over division. I believe they got the silver, and we're still waiting for the detailed reports on the age 65 team playing for Puerto Rico. So we hope to have that report later on. But you have the calendar there. You can always go through it with upcoming events. We're in Atlantic City in June. So looking forward to all the Masters action. You can get all the updated schedules and reports on frontcourtmasters.com.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that, Lai.
Certainly.
And we're moving on. At thehooppost.com, you can look at my list of the top New York City players. We're going to get into that for the class of 1985. And this was, I was in high school at that time, and just looking at these best players, these are my best players. I remember just witnessing. We started off, as you see here on the top 5. I'm going to start off at number 5. He's known as the General, Gerald Green. Started off at Alexander Hamilton. He was playing under the legendary Ray Haskins. Unfortunately, the school closed down. He transferred to Westinghouse High School, which is in Brooklyn. And Gerald Green, all-city player, and averaged over 20 points a game, took his talents to Seton Hall. He was part of that Seton Hall that made a run to the 1989 NCAA championship team before losing to Michigan. And Gerald Green was part of that team that started the Final Four. Well, a great leader, and helped that team get to the next level. And we go on number 4. His backcourt mate and a teammate of him was John Morton. I like John Morton. He was being Daily News Player of the Week on a few occasions back in 1985. He was lighting up over 20 points a game. Played at Walton High School in the Bronx. He was all-city, a first-team all-city himself. Took his talents to Seton Hall University. John Morton played a key role and part of that 1989 NCAA championship team that lost to Michigan. We already know what happened at the end.
What happened at the end? Refresh my memory.
You remember 1989, Seton Hall played Michigan. It went into overtime. What a great game. Then Ramil Robinson was taking the last shot, and Gerald Green, they called a foul on Gerald Green. A play that could they just didn't have to call, in my opinion. And Ramil Robinson had made the 2 shots, and Michigan won by 1. And that was one of the classic NCAA championship games of all time.
Wow, I'm going to look that one up probably tomorrow, man. I'm going to make some time to take a quick look at that.
Okay, but anyway, John Morton, after his year at Seton Hall, had a good career. He went on to play in the league for a few seasons. He played with the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Miami Heat before finishing his career overseas. Wow. He was in the coaching ranks for a few years. He was at Fordham and Seton Hall. He spent some time as a coach as well, too. A shout out to Johnny Morton. Also, we got to go to number 3, Gary Massey, St. Raymond's High. He's known as G-Max.
All right.
Gary Massey had some serious hops.
Really?
Yeah, he had game. Gary Massey, he knew he would throw. He could be. He was one of the best dunkers that I ever witnessed.
Oh,
He
that's
had
saying
a
a lot, Chris.
oh he was he had a game. He was outstanding in his senior year at St. Ray's. He led them to the New York Archdiocese, the Archdiocese of New York Championship in 1985. They were ranked #1 in the state for a few weeks.
Wow.
Yes, and he took his talent to Villanova, play under the great Raleigh Massimino, rest in peace, and had a good 4-year career there as a key role player for the Villanova Wildcats.
Wow.
Then we got to go to
That's a pretty dangerous 3 right there. Who else you got?
number 2, Greg Boo Harvey, one of the best point guards in New York City. Boo Harvey played for the great Granby, rest in peace. He led Jackson to the 1985 PSAL City Championship. That was their only championship that Granby has ever won, and the school has ever won.
Wow.
And they were talented throughout the years. Greg Boo Harvey, a key player on that team, led them to that city championship. And he took his talents to San Jacinto Junior College in Pasadena, Texas, where he played as part of that 19. He played 2 years and helped his team win the national championships of junior college basketball.
I didn't know that.
After 2 years, he came back, played for St. John's under the great Louis Carnesecca. His senior year, he was all Big East, had a pretty decent college career.
That's awesome. Hey, Chris, we got about 8 minutes, bro.
Okay. Yeah, last but not least, we got to go to Rod Strickland. And Truman to the 1984 PSAL City and New York State Championship. Transferred to Oak Hill in his senior year in 1985. And then he went to DePaul, had an outstanding career under the great Ray Meyer, rest in peace. Then he went on and had a great 17-year career in the NBA, one of the most underrated players in the league.
17 years, bro?
Yeah, 17 years.
That's
Played
deep.
with the Knicks, the Spurs, the Blazers, the Wizards, and a few other teams.
Wow.
So he did his thing.
He definitely
So,
did.
yeah, so we're going to move on to 1986. Yes, the class of 1986. Number 5, we have to go with Dwayne Carswell from Cardozo High, one of the best players in Borough, Queens that year. 7-foot center, great shot blocker, rebounder, took his talents to Temple University.
Wow.
He helped Temple into a #1 ranking back in 1988. He played alongside with Mark Macon, who was one of the best freshman players out of that class. He was the top freshman in the nation. They led him to the Elite 8 and lost to Duke. And he played 11 years in the NBA, 7 years with the Sacramento Kings, and 11 years with the Miami Heat.
Wow.
And then Moses Curry from Eli Whitney High School, All City. He played at San Jacinto Junior College for a couple of years, got himself together, developed his game, and he transferred to UNLV.
Wow.
And he played alongside with Stacey Augmon, Larry Johnson, Anderson Hunt, and Greg Anthony. And he was the 6th man of the 1990 national championship under
got one, right? They got a championship. They got a national.
Yes, he was the 6th, of the NCAA champion, UNLV, back in 1990. He led that region with 10.3 rebounds a game.
How many rebounds?
10.3 rebounds per game.
Chris, we're down to 6 minutes.
Okay, we're going to finish up. Carlton Paco Screen from Xaverian High School in Brooklyn. Also, he was a nice all-city player, played at Providence, His
Wow.
freshman year, he was a member of the 1987 Final Four team under Rick Pitino. Was a contributor for their program. And second, we had was Eric Leslie from Grady High School in Brooklyn, averaging over 30 points a game, first team All City.
What?
He went, yes, and he started at Villanova, and just let you know he finished up his last few seasons at Rhode Island, which he was averaging over 13 points a game. He became a key role player for the URI basketball for the basketball program, and had a good career there at Rhode Island. He started at Villanova and just moved on. So last but not least, this was a challenge right here. Chris Brooks. I like me some Chris Brooks. Rest in peace. God bless his soul. He started at Gompers.
Above the rim.
He led them to the City and State Division B championship in 1985, transferred to Oak Hill, finished in 1986, went to West Virginia. In his last year, he helped contribute to part of their 1986 NCAA tournament squad, and had a good career. Last year, 2021, January of 2021, he passed away. God bless his soul.
God bless him.
And that sums it up.
I remember one of my memories of Chris was at the Doc Turner Classic at the City College of New York, usually during the holiday season.
Yes.
And I remember just he had a series of breakaways well above the rim, and just was an incredible athlete. And tried to follow some of their careers, some of the guys coming out of the city, and guys are kind of all over the place. You might not hear too much about them, but I'm so glad to hear that this handful of young men were able to go on and compete on a collegiate level, and some eventually made it to the pros. However, I know we're getting some pushback because there are outstanding high school ball players all over the country. There are outstanding ball players all over the country, but everyone always usually talks about New York. Why is that? And why does New York get so much attention as opposed to some of the outer states where there's so much talent also?
You have to think about it. New York has the best players. Not only they're the best players, but they have they have the toughest players. We have the thoroughbreds. We have those guys who play all day, all night. We'll find some type of place. Even we go outdoors in the snow, we'll find a little basket just to shoot hoops. We play physical. They have the best skilled players. Yet besides all the outside, they're talented. They have the skills. They have the talents. But we have the better. New York City at that time has always had the better tools. I know the other countries, the other parts of the city, U.S. has caught up. But however, it's nothing like New York City where people are dedicated and it's more emotional. We take it very personal, and it's very more intense.
I'm gonna tell you right now, you making that comment just for the continental United States, there's going to be anywhere from 50 to 100 people saying they got a real good argument for you in regards to how they're playing in Illinois or California or Florida. And if any of the AAU national tournaments is any indicator or indication, there's definitely parity, not only throughout the region, but throughout the country. I mean, you've got incredible players that we've never heard of all over the nation. Basketball,
of course,
is an international sport, and you got so many players from some communities that are really producing some incredible talent.
Oh yeah, it's don't get me wrong, it's talent all over. It is, and there's gonna be an argument with that. But New York City is always the best of the best. We can't take that away.
Well, I'm not gonna argue with you. Not now. I'm a New Yorker, but in my travels, I've seen some incredible,
of course,
athletes, and then I hear the stories of the players from the previous generation or previous time, and We'll do a follow-up in some of the other regions of the nation. I think that
Sure.
might be a great follow-up to this.
Yes. And we would like to, I want to say we'd like to thank you for, that ends our show. We want to thank you for tuning in, and check us out on Instagram and Twitter at for Larry Woods at frontcourtmasters.com. Also with me at the Hoop Post, and our websites are at www.frontcourtmasters.com, at thehooppost.com. We like to once again thank you for checking in. We'll see you next time. Peace.
Peace. Hey, great
We
show.
still
Chris.
on?
Great show.